Pierre Poilievre just absolutely destroyed Mark Carney on his pathetic track record for the first 6 months of his prime ministerial term. So I got a couple clips here to show you, so we'll get into this, we'll talk about it. Now before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel, and I appreciate you guys so much for doing that. So let's see what Pierre has to say here, then we'll talk about it.
Do you think it's fair to pin the blame? And I understand contrasting, for example, what's happening versus what they said they would do. But do you think it's fair to pin entirely the blame, for example, for that exodus of investment on this government's actions? We have never faced a U.S. president that has leveled the kinds of economic threats that he has against our country. He has specifically targeted investment as a cause for that, saying, I want investment to come to the United States. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. Like, is it not normal that companies would then follow suit when they're faced with that threat? Is it fair, really, to put all the blame at the government's feet?
You know what I think is fair? Let's hold Mr. Carney to the standard he set for himself. He said he'd have a deal with Trump by July 21st. Still no deal. He said that he would put elbows up. He put elbows down. He said he could handle Donald Trump, and all he's done is make concession after concession on his own economic decisions. Mr. Carney said he would spend less. His deficit spending is 100% more. He said that he would bring more investment, and we've had a record exodus of investment since he became Prime Minister. And finally, Canadian business leaders through the Business Council have said that Mark Carney's regulations and red tape are actually more damaging to the economy, even more damaging than Donald Trump's policies. And that's why, despite Mr. Carney's promise that he would make us the fastest growing economy in the G7, we're now the fastest shrinking economy. And
do you think it's...
Yeah, and and that is fair. Hold Mark Carney to the standard he set. He said he would have the deals done by July 21st, then he moved it back to August 1st, and here we are, almost in October, and there's still no deal. Nothing has gotten better. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, why would he be elbows up to the Americans when he's got 91% of his investments in America? It wouldn't help him at all, right? To counter tariff the United States. And that's why he dropped those tariffs. But either way, I mean, Pierre makes a great point there. Now, CBC Watcher says, this is hilarious. Fassi Kapelos attacks Poilievre for the fact that food prices rose after the elimination of the carbon tax. Yet she ignores the effects that Carney counter tariffs had on food prices. Government policies, I can't say that name, Sylvan something. Government policies have played a central role. The GST holiday sold as relief distorted retail pricing signals. More importantly, counter tariffs against U.S. products, introduced as a political bargaining chip, artificially inflated costs. The federal government claimed to be protecting Canadian interests, but in reality, the measures landed squarely on consumers' grocery bills. Now, most of the counter tariffs have been dropped, and we still have some, but there's also a new carbon tax called the Clean Fuel Regulation Act, so that's not helping either. But Pierre's going to take Fassi to school here, so let's have a look at this, then we'll talk about it after as well.
Canadians watching right now treat you as an authority on the subject, when for so many months, just on the economy more largely, you told them that if the carbon tax was gone, food prices would go down. The carbon tax has been gone since April the 1st, and food prices continue to rise.
Well, first of all, I was right about the carbon tax. Everyone now agrees, after demonizing me for so long, that I was right about the carbon tax, and imitation is the highest form of flattery. But you know what I have to say is even more incredible is that Carney has been able to over his increased government spending, which is staggering. He's doubled the deficit in 6 months, has flooded our economy with printed cash, which is ultimately causing inflation. Now, it is true that the CPI is lower than it would otherwise be, and everyone agrees, all the economists, I think even the Bank of Canada, that that is because of the carbon tax. You're welcome. But when you flood the economy with hundreds of billions of dollars of extra printed money, as Mr. Carney is doing, you cause inflation in every other area of life. And what really worries me is that once the carbon tax elimination rolls off the monthly inflation measurement early next year, we're going to see really high rates of inflation. We're already seeing it in the core readings. We're already seeing it in the food prices that are rising 70% faster than the Bank of Canada's target, with 4 million visits to Toronto food banks. Mark Carney is doing the Justin Trudeau inflationary spending on steroids, and I'm very concerned this is going to cause serious human suffering.
Absolutely, and the spending under Mark Carney is going to be even worse if you don't include the pandemic. And there is no pandemics, there's no reason for this ridiculous spending, and yet Mark Carney is going to be even worse, somehow, some way, even worse than Justin Trudeau. That's almost like a talent. That's hard to do, man.
The statistics around inflation show that even food inflation from the first month after the carbon tax was cut outpaced regular inflation. The promise you specifically and your colleagues made to Canadians was food prices would go down if the carbon tax is eliminated. That didn't happen. Why should you be treated as an authority more largely on what the government should do on the economy?
Well, I'll tell you why I should be treated as an authority on this one, Vashi, is because I said that Carney would only suspend the carbon tax before the election and then bring in a new one after the election, and that's what he's doing. The fuel standard, the Canadian fuel standard, that he's bringing in.
That was in existence already.
But it's rising every year, and it is going to get to 17 cents a litre. According to the parliamentary budget officer, what was the old carbon tax? 17 cents a litre. So just as I predicted that he would bring back a carbon tax, he is doing that. And we don't know yet exactly what the impacts will be on food prices, but we can be sure it's a lot. Because whenever you raise fuel prices...
But what you said didn't happen. I have to respectfully challenge you. I take what you're...
Like, he didn't... Like, you can't just give Mark Carney credit for, first of all, stealing Pierre's idea and getting rid of the carbon tax, which he only suspended. It's not actually gone. The rates are just at zero, but they could bring that back at any time. They have to vote it out in order to get it, like, completely get rid of it. But then they bring in another tax. So, Vashi, what are you talking about? Like I like Vashi sometimes, and then sometimes she's just really annoying. It's like, oh, but Pierre, I have to respectfully push back. Vashi, they brought in, or they have another carbon tax called the CFR, the Clean Fuel Regulations Act. And that rate is rising. So it's another carbon tax. Well, the carbon tax isn't gone. Like Pierre rightfully said, Mark Carney's just bringing a new one in, except this time we're not going to get a rebate, which means it's, again, somehow worse than Justin Trudeau.
You're saying about the clean fuel standards, okay? But you didn't say, oh, but there will be the clean fuel. You said, if the carbon tax is gone, food prices are down.
But he's brought in a new carbon tax.
Right. But he didn't. It was already in place. That policy set existed when you were making those comments.
Right, and it's growing. And it's hard to keep track of all the liberal taxes. There's so many of them. It's like, which one are we talking about? But this is another 17 cent a litre tax. And as I said, whatever benefit that Canadians got from the elimination of the carbon tax, Mr. Carney has obviated, he is nullified with massive new money printing deficits that are even worse than the ones that Trudeau left behind.
And that's what I mean, man. Like, these quote-unquote new liberals aren't stupid, man. They know exactly what they're doing. They may act stupid. They may make stupid comments in question period and in interviews and, you know, press conferences and things like that. But they knew exactly what they were going to do. We're going to take away this carbon tax and go, look, Justin Trudeau's policy is gone. We're new. Everyone can trust us again. And then they sneakily start to rise the CFR rate. Now it's at 17 points, the same as the carbon tax. I mean, again, I like that Vashi has Pierre on here, but I just don't understand, like, what she was really pushing back there on. But either way, I thought Pierre did great, absolutely owning Mark Carney and pushing back on his record, which he should. That's his job as leader of the opposition. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a new one.